Welcome back to another video by Daniel and John. Today we're working on our Vito W639 and we'll need to replace the inner tie rod, and these have come from Euro Car Parts and there's a code there. I think they're about £23 each, something like that, and
there are other more expensive ones.
And basically this is it here. And you'll notice at the moment it's just quite stiff, which is nice. We've got some knocking, so that's why we need to replace them. So let's just move on a bit. First thing you need to do is remove your wheel, and you'll need, just in case you don't know, one of these and a 17mm socket to take the bolts out. You need to jack it up and an axle stand to make sure it's safe. Next thing you'll need to do is remove this boot here. There.
So there's a clip at the back and there's a spring clip at the front.
Let me just show you that clip there. You can just see it there.
Show right at the back.
Yep, there. Yep. And it's a wire. It's like wire clips. Now, the easiest way I found of removing that is to slide a screwdriver in and do that with it.
Break it apart.
So let's show you that. So it's one of those that could be reused, but it's so difficult to get back on, so we wouldn't reuse that. The next one is one of these little clips here. You can see it there, and you need some mole grips basically. This one's a bit of a...
It's at a funny angle, that one, isn't it?
So some funny mechanic has done that. There we go, and that's off. And then you can slide this boot off there and wiggle it back. Be careful with these, because the reason we were reusing these were as much to buy as the inner tie rod.
Yeah.
So that's where the inner tie rod comes off there. It's underneath this. But the next thing we need to do now is remove the outer tie rod. And ideally what you want to do is ensure that when you bolt it back up, it's at the same point on the new tie rod, on this thread there. So what I do,
you can put it back where it was, but you may want to get
a little trick for this. So
the vehicle tracked, but it's up to you.
Initially, just get some masking tape and just put it right up to the bolt there, like that, just on there like that, and then now leave that alone. Next thing you need to do is remove this, the outer tie rod, and for this you'll need a little ratchet, and this is H5, it's an Allen key
for the top of the bolt,
and that goes in, you'll see it there,
goes in the top
there, and that's to hold it still while you're undoing it. And then you need a, I think it's 22 there. Right, so I've got that open.
The threads on the outer tie rod to the inner tie rod, where that silver nut is, they may need cleaning up with a wire brush and a bit of penetrating fluid, depending when the outer tie rod was last changed, so just be aware of that.
So we need to remove this by doing this. When we remove this, we'll come back to you. So the nut's now loosened. We've used a 22mm and a T5 in the top there, Allen key. And just a little tip, get a nice soft mallet, could be copper or plastic, and then just give that a knock down. And that makes life a lot easier for you to remove this. There we go, simple as that. Might want to put your nut back on so you don't lose it. And that's that bit. Then the next bit we've got to do now is loosen this nut off here and just unwind this. We're ready to take the outer tie rod off, and the easiest way I find of doing it, and it's just a personal thing, you see these flat bits here, there's one there, one there. I just get some mole grips, pop it on, and then you literally need to get a big spanner and just do that. That's it, off. You can see there we have actually and then you just unwind that all the way off. Now it's important you watch this bit, because this ensures you keep your outer tie rod in the correct position when putting it back on with your new inner one. Right, so there is our new inner one, and you need to wind that in a bit. Use a bit more. And what I want it to do is touch that nut there. Then I know. See, just wind that in a bit. It's worth persevering with this because it's going to save you a lot of grief.
It's roughly the same, isn't it?
So that thread in there is touching the old nut there, and the new thread, the old thread, is touching the nut there. So you've got it exactly right where you should be. Okay, so we've lined up where this one needs to go back in to the outer tie rod. Now we need to access the joint. You see this thing under there, so you need to take the bolt off. I should say nut off, that off, and then just literally pull that off. Like I say, these are not cheap, believe it or not.
Not the original ones anyway.
That. And in a minute what we're going to do, we're going to use this tool here to undo that.
Should we show what tool that is? It's,
yeah, that is
tie rod removal by Tool Whiz. I'll put a link to it.
Tool Whiz, and basically it uses one of these to apply some tension. 3/8. Yeah, and goes on there. You want to get it on the back where those flats are, and you'll need a 15mm spanner or socket to do those up.
Better, isn't it?
Do them up tight, but like I say, make sure it's on the back so it's got somewhere to grip, because it's got some little teeth in there. Ready to take this inner tie rod off, and you can see that I've got that tool around here on there.
Get that right in there. Like that.
And just look at the angle of how I've got it. It's about 11 o'clock this. So you get your ratchet in there, and then that's basically it. And then it unscrews. That's it. Now, when you're done, obviously just pop this off. I tell you, for £10 this is absolutely a brilliant tool.
You just need something to grip that, don't you, to take it off basically.
Now, you see how that's wobbling all over the place, and that's the sort of sounds we're getting, even though everything else is new and been replaced. And if you look at the new one, it's quite, there's no playing that at all. So our next thing now is to pop the new one back on. We've got everything where we know it needs to be, and that is just literally a matter of popping that in there.
Obviously you've got to tighten it up with the clampers.
Then we need to put our clamp back on. Just thread that over there.
And get that tightened up.
And what you want to do is try and make sure you've got some leverage there again, so you can just pull down on it. It's important just to keep that at 11 o'clock, to be honest. We've done the other side, so we've learnt a couple of bits. So, without boring you, that needs to be done up tight with a 15mm socket, and then we're just going to pop that in and tighten it up, and then when we've done that we'll come back to you. So inner tie rod on, and it's tightened up, and we use this tool, if you remember. Just a word of correction, these are actually 14mm and not 15mm. So the next bit now is to remove that nut there, but you also notice I've got some tape on there. So if that did move, I'll just take it up to the edge of the tape. So remove that. We need to remove that because we need to get this boot back on. Now, you remember we took this off, and there's no way that I can get under there. There's just not the space.
There's not enough room under there.
So what we're going to do, we're going to put some RTV sealant on
that thing on there.
Here.
Yep.
Round here. Yeah, and then what we're going to do is pop a cable tie in on the end, and I'll show you a little trick for tightening that up. We've put the outer tie rod back onto the, what we call the inner one, and using a 22mm spanner we've tightened the ball joint up there. We've got T5 Allen key just held it still and done it really tight. The other thing that you must remember to do when all this is tightened up is then just tighten this locking nut up, and that's the job done.
Yeah. Thanks for watching.